the so-called Security and Prosperity Partnership, which critics call nothing more than a North American union. It means open borders, commerce at all costs, and by the way, without the approval of either American voters or the U.S. Congress.
Look, Saddam Hussein had used weapons of mass destruction against his own people, against the neighborhood. He was a brutal dictator who posed a threat. Such a threat that the United Nations voted unanimously to say, Mr. Saddam Hussein...
Indeed, Mr. President, but you didn't find the weapons of mass destruction.
May I finish?
Bush was only doing what he was programmed to do.
Yeah.
And his job from the media was to be as miserable as possible.
Yep. Bad
so
guy.
In comparison,
Obama looks good.
Obama would look great.
Yeah, they always play
like
that.
a savior.
Yeah, that's what they do. Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember them signing all those laws. What do you think about like the North American Union? I remember they came out a while ago.
There will be no North America the way we know it, and they know it.
Mm-hmm.
There will only be a capped continent at the northern end, which starts at the 53rd degree and has a visor extending down into Ontario on the Canadian Shield to this location at the 44th parallel.
Yeah, but why would they unite Europe? You know, and they're uniting everything.
Same reason they united the United States. There will be no Europe. There will be no China. There will be no Japan. There will be no India. It will all be Blackwater. And the only people who will survive will have to be living on the Cape Continent or on Antarctica or underground in the Moho discontinuity. That's it. These guys know it, and what they're looking for is short term. Short term, they're going to be running south because the southern hemisphere has an extra 1,000 years. So Maurice Strong was spending all kinds of money in Costa Rica.
Yeah, I heard Maurice Strong, that's another guy. This guy's pushing this whole green agenda, talking about taking away everybody's rights and giving the animals more rights than human beings.
Yeah.
This is another big guy.
The United Nations knows about it. Most of the key positions in the United Nations are held by people in the southern hemisphere, and most of the bureaucrats hold the positions, that hold positions come from the Nordic countries, from Scandinavia mostly. They rule the world through the United Nations.
Yeah. And I guess I remember you saying, like, they disguise, through orphanages. I remember hearing, like Rockefeller, brought him in or something, like adoption. So I guess that
UN. What is it in French?
One.
What does Tiger Woods wear on his hat? One.
We're all one. That's why we're all one.
And they all have the check mark for Queen Victoria, which basically is Nike sign, and it is basically the sign for victory. It's from the Greek mythology, Nike.
Mm-hmm.
So it's victory of one. One is the perfect slave. The perfect slave is 3 around 1. Anyone in his right mind would know that a particle accelerator has the initials Pa, father, Ma and Pa's kettle, and that a particle accelerator, which replicates what the sun is doing when it's burning up, is used to collide in a collier of coal, will intensify the burning, move it on quicker,
and cause the burning coal seam to turn to ashes. And the ashes will collapse, bringing with it all of the land above it and all of the water that is today the Great Lakes, the big lakes in Manitoba, the artificial movement of water from the reservoirs in Saskatchewan. The whole area across the United States, above Costa Rica and Central America, all the way up to the 53rd parallel, which is basically 2 degrees parallel below the Alaskan Panhandle on the BC border. The collapse of the United States in this fashion, along with the destruction of the oceanfront property in the east on the Atlantic, on the west in the Pacific, and the combination of the eastern side sending tsunamis up into the Gulf of Mexico will destroy populations on the coast. An international space station run by so-called tourists who've been up to take their training and see how things are over the last few years on Russian spacecraft, $20 million apiece, sent back to man the International Space Station, controlling the Hubble telescope, reversing it and using it as an amplifier of light, can be focused on a celestial body, whether it be a comet or the moon or what have you, and create a supernova, causing rocks to fall from the sky. To try to imagine what the United States would look like, and when I say the United States, I don't limit it to the United States. It's the entire developed area of the Northern Hemisphere, starting at one end with Japan, China, coming in to all of the countries in the middle, including India, all in turn, Egypt, Europe, all of Europe, with the exception of everything above the 53rd parallel. England, southern Canada, the United States, Mexico, Nicaragua, many of the Central American countries above Costa Rica. All of that is scheduled to be destroyed. As things are moved from one place to the other, they enhance the possibility that the areas that have been repossessed behind would be the first to go. And the period in time is now. 2008, bottom line, 2062, top line. 3 events. Rocks from the sky, a nova creating fire and brimstone from below, and floods enhanced by the Titanic, fitted for this purpose, sitting and waiting at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean at the mid-Atlantic ridge, sitting and waiting for its message to enhance the force that will be brought about by nature. Minimum amount of people killed, 100 million. In the United States alone. 2 billion people in the world. And once it's all over,